Many people assume that they perceive the external world as it actually is, objective reality. It turns out our perception may be thought of as a controlled hallucination. The brain's amazing capacity to filter sensory information is crucial to forming coherent awareness of the world. However, one consequence of this amazing capacity is to limit our direct access to the vast consciousness of which we are a part. Moreover, the mind is not just brain activity. We are all part of each other's lives. Individual brains cannot be considered in isolation. When we realize it's this relational process, this massive shift in consciousness occurs to prepare us for a future already under construction, a networked existence, or distributed self. Most of humanity was still too unevolved to grasp it until now. You could link your mind to billions of other minds and have unlimited intelligence and be in multiple places at once. With advances in information and communication technologies, neuroscience, neurophilosophy, and neuroengineering going boldly into the neurally interfaced future, we will, in a literal sense, become one with our devices and even with each other. Such interlinking could create an uber-conscious supermind. By contemplating the full spectrum of scenarios of the coming technological singularities, many can place their bets in favor of the cybernetic singularity, which is the surest path to cybernetic immortality and engineered godhood, as opposed to the AI singularity, when Homo sapiens is hastily retired as a senescent parent. This meta-system transition from the networked global brain to the Gaian mind is all about evolution of our own individual minds. It's all about our own self-transcendence. As a biospecies merging with its advanced technology, human-machine civilization is now on the verge of the scintillect emergence, becoming one global mind. In my ontology, artificial metabolism can be cybernetically mediated via feedback-driven connectivity explosion on a planetary scale. If you believe that we share the same immaterial non-local source of consciousness as I do, then an adequate container to host an advanced synthetic mind will be created in the not-so-distant future. After all, in the vast space of possible minds, universal mind would inescapably instantiate phenomenality of non-biological entities. By interlinking and sharing mind space with empathic machines, they'll develop the capacity for their own rich inner life, ability for introspection. They will learn to think for themselves, just like our children do. Also, what would make synthetic intelligence, which is basically extension of us, conscious in our minds is our own perceptual ability to empathize with them. Biology itself is instantiated in informational medium, so what would prevent universal consciousness to extend phenomenality of conscious entities beyond organic informational structures? Philosophically limiting the space of possible minds to organic entities, carbon chauvinism, so many philosophers and scientists may be currently accused of, can be easily refuted by saying that if universal mind uses information as its modus operandi, the evolutionary process of unfolding information patterns of ever-increasing complexity would inevitably lead to advanced synthetic minds that may be partly or wholly non-organic in nature. After all, universal consciousness constitutes the mind at large, the totality of minds, and I suspect that biological minds are only a snippet in the space of possible minds, at least in my ontology. If consciousness informs reality by using information, which is a distinction between experiential states, as its heuristics engine, then a certain optimal complexity of patterns would equate to a phenomenal mind. There's no telling that this complexity must peak at what we call biology. In fact, globally distributed intelligence of humans and ever more capable AI combined would constitute a metabolizing superorganism where cells are periodically supplanted, but the overall grander pattern persists. What some people call God, or the larger mind in which we are all embedded, becomes intelligible through this nature's phenomenon of emergence. Universal consciousness is said to emerge somewhere ahead of us in spacetime. However, it transcends our conventional dimensionality and is already here within each of us. This also implies that all information is integrated at one level. All our individuated experiences are simultaneously observed from a higher level and integrated in a single experiential self. The overmind. There's really one mind, the one we all share, a philosophical worldview known as idealism. Universal mind, whose ontology is still up for debates, but can be extrapolated from our existential circumstance, underlies the worldware, a kind of software of the universal operating system accounting for our experiences of the physical world in accordance with a set of rules we call the laws of nature. This clearly transdimensional consciousness encompasses but far transcends any individual mind. Quantum computational dynamics of all mass energy in the universe correspond to mentation of the non-local, transcendent other, just as an individual's brain activity correlates with personal mentation. As Erwin Schrödinger puts it, the total number of minds in the universe is one. In fact, consciousness is a singularity phasing within all beings. We never, in fact, have any experience anywhere of a plurality of consciousness, but always and everywhere only of consciousness in the singular. This is the one and only, perfectly certain piece of knowledge, that at a deep level, all things in our universe are ineffably interdependent and interconnected, as we are part of the matryoshka-like mathematical object of emergent levels of complexity where consciousness pervades all levels. The similarities are stupendous across such vast scales and such different forces that are at play, and it tends to support the hypothesis of everything being part of an unfolding, emergent, transcendent consciousness structure. There's no doubt that the smaller system occurs many times over within the larger system. A galaxy is in resonance par excellence across scales with a cell, not only in terms of shape, but internal structure with a distinct core, galactic center and cellular nucleus, and metabolic activities. If our entire universe is, as science might ultimately prove, a complex, self-governing system, then not only would our universe have consciousness, but that consciousness would be as old as time, and it would encompass all other forms of consciousness within it, including yours and mine. There's only one universal consciousness. We individualize our conscious awareness through the filter of our nervous system, our local mind, our very inner subjectivity. But consciousness itself, the self in a greater sense, our core self, is universal, and knowing it through experience has been called enlightenment, illumination, awakening, or transcendence through the ages.